Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Susan Reyna. For the next 30 minutes, you'll be hearing about our great work at Beacon Therapeutic. I'm here today with Diann Mayweather, a key person at our organization, but also she's going to be telling her compelling story about what she's doing to try to quit smoking. For those of you that don't know, this week is Quit Week, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that, and particularly what some of the great work that Beacon is doing associated with it. I did want to describe a little bit about Beacon. Beacon started in 1968. We were founded by a group of parents that were trying to find a better educational program for their children. And fast forward to now, we are a large or medium-sized social service organization where we're providing a myriad of services. And I'm going to put our different locations on for those folks that don't know where we are. We are located in the Beverly area, but essentially majority of our services are outreach based. So we have our business office on 103rd. We have our Longwood campus facility in the middle of Beverly. We have our outreach services located on Western Avenue and 117th. And our Calumet Park location houses our high school program. These are our different programs that we operate. We have an intensive outpatient program that works with children ages 3 through 18. We have an outpatient clinic. We have a family assertive community treatment program that's working with young moms and young children. We offer early Head Start home-based services. We outreach to homeless city shelters throughout the city of Chicago through our shelter outreach services. We have a CHIPRA program that enrolls children in Illinois' All Kids program, particularly targeting homeless and at-risk youth. And we have therapeutic day schools, our elementary school and our high school. Today I'm here with Diann, and we will be talking about the Chicago Tobacco Prevention Project. And just to remind everyone, this is a live call-in show. The number is located on the bottom of your screen. That number is 312-738-1060. And particularly, we'd love to hear from you if you've actually quit smoking or if you're in the process of quitting smoking, because one thing that Diann's going to be sharing is her process and her journey at this point. So the Chicago Tobacco Prevention Project is through the Respiratory Health Association, and Beacon was fortunate to receive a grant that allowed us to develop a variety of really neat services, particularly targeting folks and helping them quit smoking. I'm going to put a overhead on that really describes a little bit more in detail about what we're doing. So it's in collaboration with the Department of Public Health. And what was exciting is that it was a citywide program. It's really designed to develop some citywide strategies on how to decrease tobacco use and secondhand smoke. And it was a lot of money, $11.5 million over a 2-year period. And it's really looking at what are some strategies that will work, that can be applicable. And Beacon was fortunate to receive the grant because we were targeting the populations that we work with, along with our staff. So Diann is someone who signed up for this, and this is part of what we've been doing. We've had Courage to Quit classes. The campus is now gone smoke-free, and even though, of course, we've never smoked within the buildings, we've actually gone smoke-free throughout the campuses, which is a little bit different. So maybe, Diann, thank you for joining us today. Again, just to remind people, if you want to call in, 312-738-1060. And if you are in the process of quitting or interested in quitting, Diann's kind of our resident expert at this point. So, Diann, tell me a little bit about how long have you been smoking, or were smoking?
Oh, for quite a lot of years. I would say about 30 years or more.
How did you start? Do you remember taking your first drag of your cigarette?
I do. Well, not the first drag, but I know I was very young. I was a teenager, maybe around 15 years old.
Wow. And so what made you decide that maybe it's time that you want to change what you've been doing?
It's just been too long, and I know that it's bad for my health. And then with the campus going non-smoking, it makes it very difficult to just go outside and smoke. So I know that it's time. It's been too long.
Well, and I know Florence, who is our health educator, she's done a variety of things. And I know there's these Courage to Quit classes. And the big emphasis on that, and based on what we've learned, it was developed as an evidence-based curriculum. And it's really looking at both the psychological and the physical effects of smoking. Did you take the course, or did you learn some of the information from it?
I did take the course. We offered at Beacon 2 classes, and I took both of them. They were very helpful. We had a nurse that worked with us, talk to us about how we could quit smoking.
What are some of the things that they talked about? Because I mean, I think the classic thing is someone's like, okay, have a carrot or something.
Right.
You know, right. I mean, what are some of the things that they tell you?
Well,
to
if
do?
you've been smoking for a long time, you pretty much need some assistance. So I was very fortunate that Beacon provided us with that assistance by providing us with the nicotine patches, the Nicoderm patches, and so I used those, and those were very helpful. And I think that's what got me to this point.
Really? Well, I know it's of course it's the physiological dependency on it, which is so important. But then it's also the psychological. When you look at things like, like it's your habit. It's what you do. And I know I have a brother-in-law who calls it his juicy cigarette. And it's like you have coffee and you have, so what have you, are there things that you identified for yourself that you kind of said, okay, this is what gets me going, or?
Well, I'm the type of person who, I've been smoking for so long, I just enjoy my coffee and my smoke, It's very hard to give that up, and I can't say that I have totally given that up. I have made a lot of strides and not smoking while I'm at work, and I told myself I'm going to clean my car out. I'm not going to ever smoke in my car again. So I've gotten that far in the program, and I think that for me that is big. It's like I'd never even envisioned that I would never smoke in my car, or that I could go through a whole day without having a cigarette. And so I'm doing the best that I can to make it to that point where I could say one day that I've completely quit.
Gosh, Diann, that's phenomenal, because I think we were just talking about harm reduction at the agency. We had a training, and clearly you're describing as harm reduction strategies.
Absolutely.
That you're trying to lessen the impact of the negative behavior.
Right, exactly.
So you're not, it's too hard to quit tomorrow, right now, but what little things can you do? So you're right. I would imagine cleaning out your car, setting your own limits on what you can or can't do. So hopefully it wasn't too hard. The agency saying you can't smoke on the grounds.
It was hard, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
It was definitely hard, but I know that I'm going to follow the rules that the agency set for us. And I told myself, I'm not putting my coat on and walking around the block to have a cigarette. That's just not going to happen. So I had to come to terms with the fact that I couldn't smoke on the ground. So with the help of the patch, I've been able to do that. And it's amazing what you can do when you set your mind to it. If I said I wasn't going to smoke in my car anymore, so now when I get in my car and I think, I want to have a cigarette, and I say, no, you're not smoking in your car anymore. Or when I'm at work and I find that, I just don't want to get out in this bad weather, put my coat on, go around the block to have a smoke, and I feel 100% better.
Gosh, that's
Absolutely.
great. So I wonder, so you get into the pattern of it's reinforcing. Like you feel better and you can keep on doing it a little bit more. Yeah, and you're describing a journey, which I think this is a journey, because this is something you started, a long time ago.
Right.
And now you have to, it takes, what do they say, after 10 times of doing something, it becomes a habit. Well, you've done it way more than 10 times.
And Beacon has given me that push that I needed, because I wouldn't have done even this much had it not been for us going smoke-free. I would still go outside with my coffee or what have you, but now that I've been pushed and forced to do what I'm doing, it's okay. It's really a great thing. It's really helped me, and hopefully one day I'll say, I don't smoke anymore.
Well, you're smoking less, which is important.
I'm smoking less.
We have a caller. Caller?
Yes, hi. I think it's fantastic that you've quit smoking, and have you found that you have created more energy within yourself to maybe do some other things that you thought maybe that you never had the energy or time to do, but now you're a little bit more motivated because you've seen that you can take this big step and change?
Good question. Yeah.
Well, I want to make it clear that I haven't totally quit. I am working to quit, and I think that I've made great strides, in that. I could say that I smoke at least half of what I used to smoke, and I feel better. I really do feel better. I come in the morning, I start working, I can go through the whole day without worrying about what time I'm going to go out and have my cigarette, and that really helps me. I think productivity-wise, it's good, and I just feel better. I don't feel so tired when I leave work.
Well, and I know that, and I think we have some statistics in terms of the impact of smoking, but clearly, the longer you stop smoking, the better it is for you physically as well. So I think you're smoking less. If you're smoking half the what you did before, of course your energy level would be better. And then you probably find time to do other things. I know you're a big gardener.
Absolutely.
So, I think you'll find times to do other things, which I think is so important. I'm actually going to put an overhead on right now in terms of Quit Week. And this is actually Quit Week. Actually, we have a caller. Maybe we can take the caller Oh, okay, never mind. So this is Quit Week, and that's why it was so fortuitous that we had you on, Diann, this week, because I guess the 10th through the 17th is Quit Week. And so this is some of the statistics, which I think I found quite telling, that, of course, that tobacco use is the leading cause of preventable death in the U.S., and that, Chicago's smoking rate is about 24%, which is really much higher than what the national average, I guess, is 21%. And then what we do know, we had Joel Afric from the Respiratory Health Association, that there's certain populations that are that are clearly smoking way more than others. So I think part of what is important is really looking at, what everybody can do individually. And you described, smoking in the car. And then if you had somebody in the car, what's the secondhand smoke? Okay. We have a caller. Caller?
Yes, good evening, ladies. Oh, you just made a picture in my mind, me being in a car with somebody smoking. I think I might die. But listen, I have almost 10 years without smoking.
Good for
10
you.
years, and I thought I could never do it. But a couple of things that I did notice, just like the young lady asked you prior about the energy, they say once that you quit, you rejuvenate the lungs a little. It's not an overnight process, but it is a process of redundant over and over and over, and then you stop, then it has a chance to clean the lungs up, so it give you a little bit more oxygen in it. But the question that I wanted to ask y'all ladies, I smoked very, very long time in my life, and like I said, now I used to remember how you were smoking, you be somewhere and someone get away from you, and you think that was the most horrible thing that ever happened in life. Now I have that same, I cannot stand to smell it. You smell it in people's hair. You smell it in their clothes. I mean, your breath, the smoke it's terrific. And I couldn't never understand that. And this has been going on now for the last 7 years. If somebody walk past my house, I know whether you're a smoker before you come in the house. And it's horrible. It's truly horrible. But the most important thing that I used to smoke, I did not care. And that secondhand smoking, I thought about my kids and my grandchildren and people like that. So hopefully one day, because quit smoking is the most hardest thing in the world. I think you could probably fly. Some people could fly before they quit smoking. So I hope one day that, yes, God, just take it away from me. And maybe you could quit. And trust me, you're going to feel much better. Listen, good show, ladies, and don't let me stay on here because I can talk a lot.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you. I think he clearly brings up a great point, because you can't, it's a journey.
Right.
And, you have to seek a higher power sometimes, which, so what are some of the key things that you think have helped you?
Can I just address something that the gentleman said there? I think I'm really at this point, because I agree with so much of what he was saying about the smell. It's like I couldn't stand getting into my car and smelling that smoke. And it feels so good just to be in my car and not smell that anymore. And the smell on my clothes, you can smell it yourself. And I always felt very self-conscious about that, like when you share an office with a coworker, and that coworker is maybe, sometimes offended, but they don't want to tell you because they can smell the smoke. So I'm really happy that I'm really making this effort, to try and quit smoking, because I don't like the smell either. And I know that I can do this, and I know that one day that I will do this.
That's great. No, that's true. And I think you're doing it. It's one step at a time. And he brings up the good point in terms of that, because I think people are more sensitive to it. And I think once you've smoked, there's something in here that that I was really compelled about, in terms of what's the new thing about smoking? It's the whole hookah smoking. And, I've fallen prey to this too, because I wasn't aware it was so bad for you. But I think, it's another way of that people are getting out there and doing things that they're maybe not even aware of. And I think you're describing that you've smoked for so long and probably won't really think of how bad it was. But, in terms of some of these hookah statistics, and I know they're popping up all over the place, I think people see that. I've heard kids say, it's safer, it's natural, but it's not safer and it's not natural in terms of all the things that they do. And I think some of the, it's at least as toxic as a cigarette smoke. And then in terms of the way in which they smoke it, it's the equivalent of, and I love this, I know this is kind of fast, but 1 hour long of hookah smoking is the equivalent to 100 to 200 the volume of smoke inhaled from a single cigarette. And I think this is part of the education. I think that people need to be aware of it, that, there is no safe way to smoke. There is no better way of doing this. And, maybe it looks cool, but I think what it comes down to is that it's just as bad for you. And I think, you're describing this as a journey and things that you can do. And I think maybe, I don't know, it's to some degree easier maybe to quit smoking because you don't go to bars anymore and see the cigarettes, right? Like you used to back in the day.
Oh, no, not like back in the day. But believe me, it's not an easy task to quit smoking, but I know that it's possible to do. I never even envisioned that I could not smoke at work. But, and knowing that I can get that far, I know that I can go all the way.
Gosh, that's great. We have another caller. Caller?
Hi, I have a question for Diann. Diann, your experience would make you a great role model for the students at Beacon. Do you plan on incorporating the secession into the curriculum at the high school?
Actually, that's a great question. We'll talk a little bit about that. But part of this program also, there's three prongs to this program. It's it was just increasing the awareness of adults or everyone in terms of quitting smoking. So that's why a lot of our staff decided that they wanted to take part in this. So that's why Diann got involved. It's also targeting some of the populations that we work with. So within the homeless communities that we work with, we're also working with them, but particularly our students. And there is, I think it's Operation Storefront, where it's a curriculum that's specifically targeted towards youth, where it's not only showing them the dangers of smoking and the impact, but it's also kind of flipping it around a little bit so that it kind of has them look at critically at like the advertisement in the stores and how the local stores are targeting teens with the fancy packaging and those kinds of things. But what do you think about, Diann, when you see kids smoking or when you see younger kids smoking?
Well, I know that when I started smoking, I was a teen. I was about 15 years old, and the reason I think that I started was because of the economic situation that I was in at the time. And then it was popular to do in school, and you wanted to blend in. You wanted to be popular just like everybody else. We go in the bathroom and we smoke. So I know that a lot of young people probably want to fit in with the crowd. They want to be a part, and so they want to do what their peers are doing. And a lot of them are smoking. And I would say to them, just don't even start. Don't even pick it up because it's really not that popular. Once you start, you're going to get hooked. And down the line, you're going to want to quit. It's going to make it more difficult for you. And it's not good for your health. That's the basic thing, is that it's not good for your health. So if you can resist, you don't have to be like your friends. You could be your own person and just decide not to smoke.
Gosh, it would be great. I think we're going to have you go and talk to some of the kids because I think, it's true. They're young.
Right.
You were young when you started. And you don't realize, several years later, you're going to try and quit. And it's going to be hard.
It's going to be hard. The longer you do it, the harder it is to stop. You become addicted. And it's like any addiction, and it's difficult to stop. So don't pick it up.
That's, you were also just, I'm thinking of the cost. How expensive is a pack of cigarettes?
Absolutely. It's very expensive. That's one reason, the main reason to quit. Look how much money you could put in your pocket.
Yeah.
You could enjoy yourself, go out to dinner or to movie or anything, except don't spend your money on smoking. It's a waste of money.
We have a caller. Caller?
Yes, I'm the guy that called you earlier. You know what? I've seen people that quit smoking, but they buy these cigarettes. I don't know what it is. Battery operated, it look like, and it lights up, and you see the smoke. To me, I think that's the most craziest thing in the world, because if you're going to quit, you don't even want to. Why would you want to act like you're smoking? It just don't make too much of a sense. That's just like an addict or alcohol. If you're going to quit drinking, why would you want to go buy something that non-alcoholic and drink like you're still drinking? If you're going to quit drinking, you're going to quit drinking. If you're going to quit smoking, you just quit smoking. And let things take its course, because imitating something is going to trigger that mind sooner or later. Let me go ahead and get me a real cigarette. So those things, they just stay away from it. And then, like I said, I'm going to put a prayer in for you, and I hope that it works for you so you quit smoking.
Oh, well, thank you. You bring up a good point, though. We had Joel Afric on from the Respiratory Health Association. I believe he commented on that. And I think the sense is that there's still, the research is out on whether that helps or not. But, and I suppose what it comes down to is that, you're describing some harm reduction things that you're doing. So for some people, maybe that's a transition, but at some point you need to leave that alone as well.
And I'd like to comment on that if possible.
Go ahead.
I think that for some people it's harder than it is for others. It's like I had this addiction and I never thought that I would be able to give it up, even for half of the day. So I think that sometimes you feel like you need something. If you can't have that cigarette, you'll have some type of substitute because it's just a habit. It's a habit that you form and you need it. You want it with your coffee, you want it after you eat. And so I think those people are really making efforts to try and quit smoking by substituting something. Myself, I wouldn't have even gotten this far without the help of some type of aid. So I think any type of aid, and I was taught this in one of the workshops that we had, if you need aid with quitting smoking, then you should go ahead and try that. If it's the Nicoderm patch or if it's one of those little cigarettes that people smoke, whatever it is that could help you to stop.
It's a step in the right direction.
It's a step in the right direction, right.
We have a caller. Caller?
Yes. My name is Ophelia Jackson. And I was just commenting on the smoking of the cigarettes.
Yes.
I've been smoking cigarettes since I was 18 years old. And I've been noticing now. Tomorrow I'll be 51 years old. And I ain't telling you, it's hard to stop smoking cigarettes.
Absolutely.
My health has become limited. I can't do anything. I'm sitting here now with tears in my eyes because I want to stop smoking cigarettes and don't know how to stop smoking cigarettes. I started using the Nicoderm patches and all of those things. And I see since they told me that they had nicotine in it, I didn't want to use those patches. And now it's like I'm going on my knees and praying, asking God to help me to stop smoking cigarettes. But I tell anybody, if you don't smoke cigarettes, don't start.
It's definitely hard to stop smoking. As I said, I'm working towards quitting smoking, but what I've learned so far is that it's possible. It's possible. I mean, I never thought I could get through even half a day of not having my cigarette, every 2 hours. But I've gotten that far, and I know that I will go all of the way. But no one can say that it's not easy. It's easy to quit smoking. It's not. I mean, it's very difficult, but it's possible. I think you have to just put it in your mind that you don't want to do it anymore.
And I'm going to put up some resources here. Because there really are, what this funding has allowed is some solid resources. It's not just about the patch, but it's also the emotional support that folks need. Because, you mentioned you don't want to use the nicotine. Well, that's what you're getting from the cigarettes. But so there's the chemical dependency, but then there's also the emotional dependency. Diann, you're describing having your coffee with your cigarette. So you need to not only get your physical needs met in terms of when you stop smoking, but how do you get the emotional that emotional piece, and how do you understand it? So here are some resources. You can go to lungchicago.org, quit smoking, and also the quitwinchicago.com, and then just the 1-866-QUIT-YES. That's 1-866-QUIT yes, YES. And they do have a whole slew of resources where folks can access the resources, whether it's the Courage to Quit program, or some other resources, but it's really needing to be something in combination. So, one thing that I find very telling, Diann, that you said is clearly that it's a process. You're describing it as a process, and I know at the office we always say it's a process. But this is something. But how does it keep motivating you then when maybe you will have a cigarette? What do you tell yourself so that you keep on? Then the next day you don't smoke as much maybe as you did the day before.
I beat myself up a lot when I do have the cigarette. It's like, why are you doing this when you know you don't need it? I'm at the point now, I think it's all in your mind. You condition yourself. I don't smoke during the day, but I know that when I get home, I'm going to have a cigarette. And that's simply because I haven't put forth 100% effort in quitting smoking. And that's the bottom line. I mean, I have to really totally commit 100% that I'm going to quit smoking. And I'm not quite there yet. I've gotten halfway. I really look forward to the day when I can come back and tell you guys that I don't smoke anymore.
Oh my God, Diann, that's amazing. But it's going to be a journey, and you're going to get there. And I think if you can smoke less, And you will get there one day, which is awesome. Well, I'd like to thank everyone for listening and watching today. Diann, you've been amazing. I'm really grateful for you sharing your story. And I think hopefully this will motivate folks out there to think about what they're doing and are they ready? You're describing stages of change. You're not 100% there yet. You're almost there yet. But when you're there, you will be there. And I think that's wonderful. I would like to put some information on quickly about an upcoming event that we're going to have, and I'll put an overhead on it. It's our 19th annual holiday supper in Beverly. It's a lovely, lovely event for $60. There's dinner, there's drinks, there's carriage rides, and there's music, a wonderful silent auction. All proceeds go to benefit our Shelter Outreach Services program. If you're interested in tickets, you can call the office 773-298-6441 or prourke@beacon-therapeutic.org. Diann, thank you so much for coming today and sharing your compelling story. It was great. And then we look forward to seeing everyone again. Thank you for joining us. We represent Beacon Therapeutic.